You're listening to Neocash Radio. With you in the studio, it's Darren. Joining us remotely today, we have JJ joining us remotely via Skype.
Hey, Darren, how's it going?
All right, JJ, great. Thanks for joining us. So we've got a lot of news stories for you today. Just real quickly, there was some things in the news. There was the Isle of Man may accept Bitcoin for tax purposes. That's from the Telegraph, so it's a pretty good source on that. And that relates to what we brought up for last show about some banks are trying to sever ties with the Isle of Man. So those two pieces of information work well together, or at least it seems like they jive. That makes sense. Isle of Man, you may know, is a little island off of the United Kingdom. And in other news, this is pretty big news this week. PayPal is accepting or is allowing merchants to accept Bitcoin. So basically, any merchant that accepts Bitcoin or that accepts PayPal can immediately accept Bitcoin without much change in their implementation of software and all that. So that's pretty big news.
Should we say finally?
Finally, yes. It's yes. Finally, there's still some holdouts. I mean, I think Amazon's still a holdout in the Bitcoin world, but yeah, it's nice to see PayPal come over. There's some things like Western Union I would not expect to do anything with Bitcoin, except maybe behind the scenes. But anyway, so yeah, PayPal. That's pretty big news this week, and we saw the price spike after the news came out. Of course, it went back down. And in other news, similar news, there's a GMO payment gateway in Japan that will integrate Bitcoin payments. So that's pretty big news. Similar news out of Japan. So it's been a pretty big week for Bitcoin. Do you enjoy Neocash Radio? If you do, we ask you support the show by exercising an option on our support page, or clicking our ad for Amaji Metals and buy some silver. We want to help the show but don't have any money? Well, there's an option for you too. Just follow the instructions on our post, how to earn a free millibit, and you can help the show while collecting enough Satoshis for a millibit. You can donate as well, support Neocash Radio. And if you've earned a free millibit before, you can do it again. It still helps the show. I've noticed there's a few people that are doing that, so thank you, everybody earning free millibits. Yay. So, JJ, did you have some information for us?
Oh, yeah, there's some big stuff in the news. I think this show will be talking a little bit about the courts and Bitcoin. For example, there's a story in Wired. The title is MIT Students Battle State's Demand for Their Bitcoin Miners Source Code. And so basically, MIT students, they had created a bit of code that would supplement some ad revenue. So like instead of going and seeing ads when you went to a website, your computer would actually just mine Bitcoin for the host or whoever is running that ad. And so this is a bit of code that they created to do a job back when the mining wasn't nearly as difficult as it is now. Now, with the mining being as difficult as it is, this program would kind of really not do a whole lot. There really wouldn't be enough power to make it profitable versus running ads on a website. But anyway, the students, and one in particular, that the Bitcoin Frontier Foundation is representing. His name is Jeremy Rubin. Basically, they're facing prosecution from a state office in New Jersey. Now, MIT is in Massachusetts, so this is a strange sort of case. I think, there's who knows how this is actually going to work out, because oftentimes court cases will take months and months and months, if not years. Last week we talked about what was it? Or I think it was 2 weeks ago. We talked about Charlie Shrem and how he eventually, being under house arrest, he eventually just took a plea deal that they offered him. I think just because the whole process takes so long that the results, what's going to happen with this case and how will it affect other Bitcoin users, it's just so difficult to say at this point in time.
And
But
also, I believe this was for a contest. They made this code for a contest, and they actually won the competition. And the New Jersey court is coming against these people for winning a competition to write some innovative code. So this is kind of strange. I mean, I believe the Electronic Frontier Foundation is also concerned about maybe a chilling effect that this type of case could have in academia in general. When you're just doing research, when you're just trying to see what's possible in tinkering with things, if the result is a court case, I mean, who's going to tinker with things anymore?
right, right. So I overall, this is a very strange situation. So we'll keep an eye on it and let our listeners know what the results are. But Darren, there's another story here, including the FTC.
Yeah, the Federal Trade Commission has been actually acting against actual fraud recently. There's been a move by the FTC to basically shut down, and these are all alleged things, but the FTC is shutting down Butterfly Labs, and our listeners probably do know that Butterfly Labs was in the business of making ASCII miners. They were some of the first people to announce that they were going to make application-specific integrated circuits to mine Bitcoins. And, they've been kind of a joke in the Bitcoin community, because when they first came out and were advertising, they said that their their miner, will actually ship in 2 weeks. And there's been several people that have ordered them. Some people I know directly, so it's actually hard for me to say alleged on some of this stuff, that did not get their mining equipment until maybe 8 months later. So what the FTC is doing is they're accusing Butterfly Labs of participating in systematic deception. Which I don't know much about all the laws, but that sounds like a pretty good thing to charge him with. I made the argument just around that, online, and thinks that Butterfly Labs was committing fraud a month or 3 months after their initial sale, where they did not ship these in 3 months. And there's other people that argue that's not fraud because they offer a refund or all this stuff. But no, they said one thing, that they would do one thing, and they're not doing it. So I don't know how you can say that's upright and upstanding thing. So I actually welcome this move of the FTC. Have you heard about this, JJ?
Yeah, I've read a little bit about it. I think, I know people, and I think people that have ordered from Butterfly Labs, and sort of vicariously through them watching their experience with the company, as well as talking about what's going on with as the reports of delays and delays and delays. Yes, they did offer refunds and all that, but at the same point, they promised one thing and then couldn't meet that promise. It does seem a little fraudulent to me, so we'll see what exactly happens in this case.
Yeah, I mean, I do know somebody that I believe took a civil suit against them. I think that one was settled out of court, but now there's an actual criminal charge against Butterfly Labs. So I welcome that. And also, this is on the heels of Trevor, who is accused and was convicted of implementing a Ponzi scheme which he called Bitcoin Savings and Trust, I believe he was fined $40 million. So they're finally, years, again, just like with Charlie Shrem, years after the actual fraud took place, they finally brought, in my view, they brought some justice. Of course, I don't know how much of the 40 million goes to the actual people that lost money, which technically that would be somewhat unjust if it goes to somebody else and not the people who lost the money. But I think it's kind of a good idea to prevent Ponzi schemes from happening, and Bitcoin Savings and Trust was exactly that.
Yeah.
So
Well, in sort of a strange segue, a coin that has been, I mean, Dogecoin. I'm talking about Dogecoin.
okay, we need
So,
something happy, JJ.
yeah, Dogecoin is doing great now, and well, relative to how it was, of course. Part of that is due to a new method of mining that Dogecoin is undergoing or has changed. The merge mining happened with Dogecoin and Litecoin, and if you look at some of their network hash rate charts, the effect took place right around September, right at the end of September 11th, basically. And if you look at the network hash rate charts since then, they're much higher. I mean, they're just, I can't even say like 100% because it's well over 100%.
Yeah, it might be 3 orders of magnitude more. It's it's now it's hovering around 750 gigahashes, where let's see, on September 11th it was around 70. So
Right.
so that's 2 orders of magnitude, or 70 up to 75, so 1 order of magnitude.
Right, and the price per Bitcoin has also gone up. Doge is hovering around 100 satoshis per Dogecoin, depending on which trading engine you're looking at. But it's good news for Doge. You know, the Doge community has still been working really hard to not only spread awareness of Dogecoin, but also to get merchants to accept it and to otherwise do more of their charity campaigns for various issues and organizations. So it's good to see Doge back on the upswing. We'll see how this merge mining works out for both Dogecoin and Litecoin, but it really is going to help and solidify the sort of top 3 coins, if you will, the Bitcoin, Dogecoin, and Litecoin trifecta. So we'll keep you informed.
Yep, and there's something else interesting about Dogecoin. The halving, I believe, the next halving will take place in about 4 days. Probably less than 4 days now. So that's pretty exciting with this price rise, and then basically the monetary inflation gets cut in half of Doge for the next 2 months. So that's something I want to keep an eye on personally.
Yep, exactly. So Darren, another big story here.
Yeah,
the Foreign Accounts Tax Compliance Act.
Yeah, so I was reading some things over the past week, and one thing that caught my attention, some people I know have been talking to me about this Foreign Accounts Tax Compliance Act, or we'll call it FATCA for short, if you take the abbreviation or the acronym for it. So FATCA is this rule or law that applies to foreign accounts, basically in banks, and it says that if you're a bank, it doesn't matter where, and you have a U.S. customer, somebody has an account that's a U.S. citizen, then you have to inform the U.S. government all about that account and the activities in that account. So what's as a result of this FATCA, there's been lots of results. Some Americans have lost their accounts because banks do not want to comply with this or do the paperwork or do jump through all the hoops that it takes to actually comply with this. So they just say, okay, we can't service American customers anymore. You need to move your money in 2 months. Get out, get away. Bye bye. Bye for now. Anyway, so and other things that have been happening is people, especially people with dual citizenships, because there's several people, or at least a handful of people that have citizenships in the U.S. and also abroad in other countries. They've felt some pressure to kind of renounce their citizenship. Now, renouncing citizenship has gone up quite substantially. Like just the numbers of people who have renounced. I think last year it was 4 times the amount that it was the year before. It was around 2,000 last year, like 2,500, and the year before it was 500 or so. So we have a lot more renouncing of citizenship happening. But at the same time, this year the renouncements aren't as steep as last year. At least they don't seem on track to be as many as last year. But at the same time, there's actually now a large fee that goes with renouncing your citizenship.
That seems strange to me.
Yeah, I think it's like a $2,000 fee where it was like $50 or $100 or something. But yeah, so they've upped the fee on that. Yeah, and it is strange because it's saying somebody's renouncing their citizenship, saying, I don't want to have a relationship with you anymore. And then the person says, okay, we don't have to have a relationship. That'll be $2,000.
So if they don't pay the 2,000, they can't renounce it. Is this supposed to keep poor people from renouncing their citizenship? Is that sort of the idea?
I think it's supposed to keep anybody. It's supposed to encourage anybody from renouncing their citizenship. They were just having more of them, and so they tax that, and they'll probably have less renouncing of citizenship as time goes on.
I don't get it. I don't think they can charge someone. I mean, they can do whatever they want. I understand that, but I don't think it makes logical sense at all to charge someone to renounce their citizenship. It doesn't work, and it just doesn't follow in my way of thinking. If they say they want to sever ties with you, that should be it. I mean, you shouldn't be able to say, well, okay, like you said, yeah, sure, that'll be $2,000.
Yeah, and it's even worse than that, JJ, because if you actually have assets, they want you to pay a capital gains tax on all unrealized earns. So if you have a house in the U.S., maybe you bought it at $100,000 quite a while ago, and it's worth $300,000 now, and you want to renounce your citizenship, you've got to pay capital gains tax on that $200,000. Even though you don't necessarily have the money. So that would come out to be about a $40,000 bill up front. Like so I'm saying 2,000, but there's other hidden taxes or fees that go with renouncing your citizenship. They call it an exit tax. I believe it started under George W. Bush.
Yeah, so, I just from my final notes, none of that seems really legitimate to me. I think if you're severing ties, your ties are done.
Right.
That's it.
Right. So, I mean, if you had anything owed, but anyway, so what's been happening the past, from my perspective, and some of this is speculation because I was just reading the article and I did come to my own conclusions a little bit, but based on other information, for example, the national debt, I have the number of the national debt around $17.75 trillion right now. It hasn't gone up as quickly as it has in the past. That's one thing I noticed, and our listeners might even notice there was a show I said, I don't know what's happening. The treasuries have a low yield, and the national debt's not going up, and blah, blah, blah. So what might be happening now is that since there's all this reporting on foreign accounts, that anybody who was trying to hide assets overseas or anything like that is now getting a bill from the tax man. So maybe that is suppressing the national debt because maybe there's more money coming in from collecting taxes that from these accounts that were overseas. So that's one thing I would speculate that's happening currently because of this law, and the FATCA type law, but also from just my experience and on this time with the time on this planet that I've had, I'm pretty sure that if people were holding the money away from the U.S. government on purpose, even now that their accounts that they're holding have to be reported, I'm sure they're going to figure out some other method eventually.
Right, right.
And so while this type of law may be a big boom for the U.S. government right off the bat, as time goes on, there'll probably be other methods people use to store money and in privacy, basically. And so something like Bitcoin would allow that to happen, and there's probably other things I can't even think about that will happen down the path.
Right.
We know these AML and KYC laws, but I'm pretty sure there's somewhere in some country that doesn't really abide by any of that. So you might just be seeing some business go over to those countries. So,
well, it is strange to not have the national debt number rise so precipitously as it has in the past, because the entire system that the United States is running right now is a debt-based system, and in order to keep paying the interest on the debt that they keep accruing, it only follows that the amount of debt would continue to rise. Now, maybe they found an innovative way to cover up debt, or to sort of rejigger things or report things. So
I think
I
they
don't know.
found.
I wouldn't be surprised if in a couple months to a year, or maybe when there's a different president in office, all of a sudden it comes to light that, oh no, the national debt is actually much higher than previously recorded. So
Well,
we'll see what happens. But I can't see them collecting that much tax revenue to slow down the debt.
well, I mean, there's been other things too. For example, the numbers were kind of funny at the end of last year. But the end of last year, they raised the capital gains percentage, and I'm just going to talk about long-term capital gains right now. They raised the capital gains percentage from 15% to 20%. So what happened at the end of last year? Savvy investors, I guess, would actually basically cash in their long-term capital gain and pay the 15% tax on that, because they didn't want to wait till next year when they cash in their capital gain and pay a 20% tax on that. So with that change in the tax, with that particular rise in the tax rate, what has happened there is you saw the U.S. government take in basically a significant more than it normally does, because everybody's trying to cash in their capital gain all at once. I'm certainly the changes in policies they make can affect what you might call their revenue. JJ.
Yeah, no, I sure I see what you're saying. Yeah, but you're dealing with trillions of dollars. The figures are just huge at this point. So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if in the future we read about a story where something, some sort of cover up or shady dealings happened in order for this to take place. So
Well, you might be right, JJ, but I don't think it's anything different than they've been doing for a while.
oh no, I'm sure.
I have on 7/15, July 15th. The national debt was like 17.6, and now it's like 17.75. So it has still been going up. That's a little bit over 2 months, and it's gone up $150 billion. So it's still going up. It's not as quickly as I would expect, or has been in recent past. Yep.
So what's going on with the legacy markets?
Well, with the legacy markets, they're down as well. So
I should say.
yeah, the Kitco says that gold is around $12,119, and silver's still under 18 at 1766. So the metal markets are certainly down. The stock market's still kind of up. It's still pushing record highs at 17,113 points. So that Dow is still way up as metals are down, which is something you might expect. Treasuries are yielding around 3.22, the 30-year Treasury, and of course with the Bitcoin market, Bitcoin's down a little bit at 18 or 383, and Litecoin's holding at 419. And yeah, of course, Doge has gone up triple in comparison with Bitcoin in the past couple weeks. So all the way up to 100 Satoshis, which of course is a psychological barrier. So yeah, so that's kind of what's going on with the markets here, JJ.
Excellent. Well, this certainly been a show about the courts.
Yep, there's a lot of things happening, and they do affect money. So thank you for listening to Neocash Radio.